On July 6th, 2026, if we all could stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I usually look for youngins. Nobody's that young today, so to do it, so we'll have to do it ourselves. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I was at a meeting for SEMCOG last week, and we did the recital of the Pledge of Allegiance. There was no flag. So some guy had a lapel pin. We had to all look at the guy with the lapel pin, but that was over in a theater on the other side of town. So with that, if we could do the roll call, Michaela, that would be great.
Janetti. Here. Friends. Morosky Brown.
Here.
Carter.
Here.
Turnbull.
Here. And Andrew has an excused absence. He's actually on a vacation. So he knew that in advance. He's over in Europe enjoying life, I guess. So with that, before we start on the agenda, Tony's here. If you could let us know, we have one thing that's not on the agenda that we took off. If you could just mention that, we'll get to it with public comment and stuff too. But sure, just let us know on that. Thank you.
There were a lot of public comments, written public comments submitted regarding the removal of the Planning Commission agenda item. As we were going through the applicants, two issues arose. One was the application of Jason Turnbull and the determination that that was in violation of section 4.13 of the charter, which is the nepotism provision, which prohibits appointive officers from being direct family members of the elected officials, which are our city council and our mayor. And so he was removed. In addition, we had an issue arise regarding whether a fifth application was received. We have received word now that there was an issue with our website that didn't forward it on to the clerk's office as it was supposed to. So for that reason, the agenda item was pulled. The fifth applicant will be reviewed and we'll make any determinations necessary before those items come back.
Great. Anything else to add to that, Justin? No, anything else from your standpoint? Good. And on that one, on the Jason Turnbull, he was put on beautification about a year ago from the committee. I think Barbara Morosky Brown put that motion forward. We didn't know that at the time, apparently, that he can't be on that. And we interviewed him for HDC 6-8 months ago. He didn't qualify at that point in time. So we know everybody in this board, anybody in our families cannot be on any boards going forward. If you look through time, it happened for most of the 180 years before this, but that was something that we didn't realize. We realize now he is not on the beautification board where he's been the workhorse for the past year or so now, so he understands that. So just, we'll talk about that in public comment. Thank you, Tony, appreciate that.
And I would just like to advise the mayor that I have something that I'm going to request to put on the agenda, or full agenda. And I would request that facts not be presented here at the dais because it's a public record and there is much more to it than you just described.
Absolutely.
Including that the HDC process, which was a big challenge, that came to a culmination on April 30th at a board and commission selection meeting. Right. So it wasn't 8 months ago. And there are other facts surrounding what occurred during the beautification commission. So let's just not.
You are correct. May 4th, 2026 was HDC. June 2nd was beautification. You are correct. So that is correct. Those are.
So anyway, so I'm just requesting and guiding, just providing advice that all facts would be set forward and not to selectively itemize.
Great. Nope, trying not to be selective here. Let it be said, let it be done, let it be written. We're going to the approval of the agenda. So if there's something to add to the agenda, this is exactly the time. And if anybody likes to add something, if there's a second to that motion, we will put it. Nope, not on public comment yet for us to begin with. And then I'll put it to public comment, Jeff. So just a second. Nope, when it's public comment, you can say anything you want.
Comments regarding, you went out like this, there was something to add to the agenda, so I thought it was indeed right.
Oh, no. I think, no, I'm just trying to get back to Councilperson Morosky Brown. I think she'd like to add something to the agenda. This is the time. I'm sorry about that. Yeah, appreciate that. So this is the time we're on number 4 if you're new in here. I'm kind of your guide as you go through. This is approval of the agenda. If there's something to add to the agenda, I would ask for you to mention that at this point. So is there anything to add to the agenda at this point? in time?
Well, two items. One is a scribble edit under item 9, new business. We have 3 things coming before us, a second reading and 2 first readings. And I would just ask that the clerk, that it be amended, that it's A, B, and C. And right now it's just listed as A. Is that making sense? Everybody see where that is? So it's 3 items because I believe they're presented and we have to make motions separately on each. And the last
So
is,
would you like that to be added to?
Well,
or just a scribble edit?
it's a scribble edit. There,
Okay.
it's missing B and
It's
C.
correct.
Okay.
It's correct online. So anyone
Okay.
can
Is it-
Well, not the one that's online for the public to view.
We just printed it. It says ABC. Are you talking about number 9? ABC?
Yeah, so again, we get into this. I downloaded it from the public website. That's what they're seeing,
Okay,
right?
Good.
So just, you know what I mean? Remember, we've had that inconsistency, the way diligence.
Website that it's.
So it's
ABC.
an inconsistency. It could be in the way diligence picked it up and that's happened before. So the one for public facing does not have a B in
so
it.
ABC.
I've got it right in front of
So
me.
Michaela, are you clear on that?
It's a minor, that's a technical edit. The reason I bring that up is because it would be requesting to add item D. And that would be, I'd like to move forward with the request for city council support to move for an independent review of matters that impact on the integrity of how this council appoints members to our boards and commissions.
So we have a motion, official motion to add section D to the agenda today. You need support. Does somebody support that motion? Somebody support the motion?
we provide comment.
Right.
Or do we need to wait until there's a motion in order to provide comment?
So,
I want to get this right. I want everybody to, I want to get this right. So if we
go
can,
ahead.
are we able to comment on the motion or we just have to, in
No.
order to comment, we have
You know,
to?
if we put it on the agenda, then we can have a discussion about it.
Yeah, that, if there isn't a second, then it dies and we move on. with
So
approval of
that
the
is why I'm
agenda.
pointing to you, Tony. What is legal in this?
So it's.
So I have a motion.
I will support, if that's the only way we can have a discussion, like John,
So we have a motion.
I will support
And it's
it.
supported. So that will go then to 9D. So that will be after you, Justin. You have the first 3 on the agenda. Great. Okay, so with that, now we will go to public comment. If you would like to come up, Jeff.
We
And
need to approve the agenda first.
Oh, we approved the agenda. So we had a motion that was properly supported. Any other discussion on that? Motion to add that? If not,
Motion to approve as amended?
all in favor, say aye.
Well,
Oh, somebody got that.
I
Did you
support,
second it?
I support.
Okay.
Thank you, John.
Let's do a roll call vote on that.
Morosky Brown,
Yes.
Carter,
Yes.
Janetti,
Yes,
Turnbull.
Yes. Okay, so it's on the agenda. That is 9D. So now let's go to public comment. No, on the agenda, we will talk about what we just mentioned about putting people on boards and commissions. That will be open. You will have your 2 minutes on that too. So anything other than that. We also have on the agenda, I will open up for purchases and sales contracts. We'll talk about for Justin. Zoning ordinance, yard definitions, if you're here for that, he will answer all those questions. Or residential building heights. Those are the 3 things. We also have 2 presentations tonight, one on TIFs and one on the new website after that. I'll open it up if you have comments on those 2 things too. So you have multiple times to come up to the speaker tonight. So with that, I would ask if there's anything not on the agenda that I just articulated, this would be the time to come up, give your full name and address, and eventually we will let them know online how to raise their hand, Ken. So is there anybody at this point? Come right up. Again, we're meeting with the Open Meetings Act in consideration from the governor's office and the policies and procedures. We are conducting all the meetings through Robert's rules and the whole bit. So this is through Lansing. Go right ahead, full name and address.
At Brazen, 370 Fairburg Street. I got a question. This is geared towards George. Last year, they said they were gonna get together with us on our street and figure out how to calm the street. We've never had a meeting. We've had a speeding sign out on our street for the last month and a half. And then one day in May, we had 1,300 cars go down our street in one day. We also had somebody going 70 miles an hour on their street. You guys are so worried about somebody walking out in the main street going 5 miles an hour, but my street, people drive like crazed maniacs. And I want something done about it. Another fact, I was driving down Main Street, Monday. Yeah, yesterday. Somebody's walking, guy with his family, walk off of the, town square and walk right in front of my car. And they're walking in the middle of the street. People don't understand that the streets are open right now. They're lucky I didn't hit them. I didn't, they just came off the sidewalk and they were trying to cross the street, but you can't cross right at the clock. So they just started walking down the street. That's something we're gonna have to pay attention to because somebody's going to get hurt. That's all I got for right now.
Let it be on the record, that's Fairbrook Street he's talking about to begin with. Fairbrook.
No, I'm talking
No,
about.
but I mean, your first one, where you live,
Right.
Fairbrook Street, which is just south of Katy here. Okay. Any other comments that? Jeff, it's all yours. Yes, that hand was for you.
Jeff Snyder, 508 Gardner Street. I get a full 2 minutes.
Yep, 2 minutes.
Yeah, but I need a full 2 minutes, so you might have to add back 10 minutes.
I will give it to you.
Thank you. On December 18th, I received through one of my tenants at 540 South Main, a notice from the zoning official that there was snow on the sidewalk that's on the west side of the street, the west side of South Main. It's actually the sidewalk to nowhere because there's nothing to cross that intersection. I wasn't too happy about it. I think I called and left a message and I didn't hear back. But on January 2nd, by the way, that was my first communication. And I'm welcome to give it on January 2nd, 2026, I received actually an ordinance violation warning regarding the same instance. This time I wasn't too happy about it because in both instances, I drove around town and found countless similar situations where there was snow on the sidewalk, even 24 hours after it snowed. And so I called the zoning official. It took me a while to figure out who he even was. And I called him. And I won't mention his name because I think he's doing a good job for the city. And I kept pressing him. I said, I don't understand this. What's going on? He goes, well, why don't you just clean it up? It's not a big deal. I said, Frank, sorry. Now I'm getting up.
We got it. It's okay.
We only have one zoning official,
Yep,
right? So
yep.
I said, Frank,
It's okay.
what's going on? Is this an anonymous? He goes, just clean it up. Come on, let's not cause a problem here. I said, who did this? What happened? He said it was the mayor. Both times.
I don't even know what 540 is. Tell me what.
What CrossFit is.
It's okay.
Well, I get more seconds here.
Okay.
It's right on the intersection of the corner. You know exactly where it is, Mayor. He told me you reported it. And he was not happy about having me force that information out of him. And I think it's really inappropriate for the mayor of this town, to be turning against some people who advocate from a different perspective often to be targeted by a city official and to go to a city official and press that person to do that. It's completely inappropriate. And I think that this should be, investigated under the code of conduct violation. And I'm not the only one, by the way. I've heard other people. Thank you.
So thank you very much. If that was true, absolutely, you have a great valid point. So I would take that up to his boss and I would love to have known that has never happened. But absolutely, you are correct. If that happened, and I know I'm doing the Declaration of Independence on Wednesday, the truth are self-evident. Hopefully that's the truth. Hopefully that's what you heard and that's not what you're saying tonight. Okay. Anybody else? Right up.
Hello, Dan Farrell, 729 Grace Street. I think it's important to treat people with respect and assume positive intent. I think people are what makes places special, just like Northville. I think it's important to get input from those people in the city. I applied and was recommended for the planning commission vacancy by the mayor and the process, and there is a vacancy. While I do think my past residency adds significant value to my perspective and what I can offer the city, I'm happy to show my driver's license to show that I qualify on all fronts for the post. Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel. You gave your full address, right? Yeah. Okay, good. Anybody else in council chambers here tonight before I put it online? I'm closing off comments from council chambers. If you could let them know how to raise their hand electronically, that would be great.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Anyone that's watching at home on YouTube or the other stream, if you'd like to make public comment, we ask that you call in on the comment number, the toll-free number, and the instruct agenda. Once you call into the meeting, we will bring you into the queue and have you make your public comment. Thank you.
Great. And is there any hand raisers that you see?
Not at this time, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, I don't see them. I know there's plenty behind the screens, but we'll give it another minute, another few seconds. Okay, you heard it. We will do this one more time when we get to the different sections, how to raise your hand electronically. Okay, so I am closing out public comment online for things other than that's on the agenda. Okay, and we did get written communications. If you came in before 4 o'clock today, they're in the package. You can see it if you're out there with your iPads or your phone, all the different documents that have come in. Those are public records, so you can peruse those out there too. And we all have a package of them in here. I expect everybody to read each and every one of them, even if they came in at 4 o'clock before they come up to the diag here tonight. Thank you. We will go consideration of the consent agenda. Do I have a motion to go forward with the consent agenda tonight?
I have a request for removal of one item from the consent agenda. As we all know, there was already one item removed from the consent agenda, but that was withdrawn timely, but now we have this before us. And this is related to item D, reappointment to Board of Zoning Appeals of Stedham and Calkins. This has nothing to do with those applicants specifically. They're qualified and they have served admirably, both of them in their positions. They're seeking reappointment. But I'm asking that the item be removed from the consent agenda just briefly because the item is incomplete. The applications themselves that demonstrate the qualification, which is always attached to an appointment request or recommendation, is omitted. And B, that council can make this appointment itself under the applicable Michigan Planning Enabling Act appointment provision, which is that council appoints. There is no that the members of a zoning board of appeals are appointed by majority vote of the legislative body. The statute gives the mayor no unilateral role in that appointment, not to interview, nominate, or recommend. Yet the communication before us says the mayor alone conducting the interviews and forwarding his recommendation outside of our board and commission selection process. And as I mentioned, it's incomplete. We have as a body changed the process for board and commission appointments. In fact, we did that in September for beautification, that the mayor in consultation with the chair of the Beautification Commission can recommend appointments to that body, but the mayor did not timely come to council to ask for a change in the process. And he asserts mayoral authority, and the last, as the chief elected official, that would have to have been delegated to council by council, and he did not request that. So I would like it removed. One thing of note, which I have in the memo before you, is in the interim, there's no harm done to our BZA in terms of being able to conduct business. Current members were able to conduct business at their July 1st meeting. Their terms expired at midnight that night. So it just calendar fell at a good spot this year. And then council can approve these appointments in an appropriate manner in advance of the next scheduled BZA meeting, which is not until August 5th. We have 2 meetings before then. So we can timely make those appointments and let those applicants know. And again, just you already had nothing about the applicants, it's about the process. So I request that that item be removed.
So we have that. Do we have support or not support?
I think we will have a vigorous conversation likely in the near future here on the planning commission appointments. From a BZA perspective, my view there, I agree completely that it is subject to the Michigan Zoning Enabling Act. However, we had two applicants who both are incredibly qualified for two positions. I've reviewed the application. I have personally, and I will defer to others in terms of opinions, but I think they are both highly qualified for the position. And I think that our opportunity to approve that, you're right, it's a recommendation. It is this legislative body that will be voting on that, and we should vote on that later. If we disagree with the process, we can vote no, and we can revisit it if that in our mind prevents us from being comfortable. But I don't have an issue with the two that have been recommended, and I am fully comfortable that this body could make that selection. So I don't think that has to be removed from the agenda today.
Yeah.
And as Barbara mentioned, it is a recommendation from the mayor, but it is approved by the council. If you look at these sheets, the yellow, the mayor puts it on, appoints people, and the rest, the mayor gives his recommendation. Historically, for 180 years, the mayor put people on all these boards. We're probably more democratic than we ever have. We interview them, we post them. In fact, in the old days, I've had 5 council members talk to them on these boards, from Gisa to Marilyn to Barbara to John and myself. Over 7 years and 27 boards, and we've replaced or interviewed just about every one. There's only been one that wasn't unanimous here. So I get a little bit of a kick out of this. We are probably the most open that I know of. A lot of them are just appointed, but I got it. This is one that is just recommended by the mayor.
Yeah.
And this is for the council.
This one seems like theater to be
It does.
completely honest. Like, planning is a discussion we need to have. This one is, we had 2 applicants for 2 positions who are both qualified. We have an opportunity to vote on it, which is following the process. The idea that we would remove it from the agenda so those 2 people stay on and then have a motion to approve those 2 people, it makes no difference. So it may allow us to get up here and make a bold statement in the public, but I don't think it actually achieves anything in actuality. Planning, I feel, is a different conversation, and I think we'll dive into that in a minute.
And that's why we put it off.
And just, I do need to state first, as I said, this is not about the 2 applicants. I go to BZA meetings. These are 2 stellar applicants. That is not the issue. I concur with you, John, on that. What we have here, we have statements by the mayor that he's asserting authority he does not have because council hasn't given him that authority in this particular instance. And also, there is no council adopted policy. He states, the board and commission selection committee, that there is no council adopted policy to that effect. He makes that statement unsubstantiated. He has never looked. He hasn't looked at the motions. This occurred based on 3 council members present at that time. This was established and reasserted in the 2000s timeframe. I just received the minutes. Nobody else has looked. So I think our attorney has said it's not found, but that's different than what the mayor asserts here. And this becomes a permanent record, that there is no council adopted policy to that effect related to a board and commission selection committee. That is an inaccurate and inappropriate statement. And by approving this with that background and analysis, this is not theater, John. This is not, I don't do theater.
And if we want to amend that statement, I'm open to that as well. But I think the removing it from the agenda doesn't. That's when I refer to theater. It is when we are going to make a change that I don't see actually changing the outcome and actions going forward.
Correct, so we could
If
make,
you wanted to make that change, I would fully support that.
okay. So how do we want, but how would that get on the record that this communication is being
It can
amended?
be removed from the consent agenda to a business agenda item E. Removing it from the agenda would require a motion and action by council, but just moving it to off of the consent could request, as a request typically from one person, and then it will be handled at the end of the meeting.
Okay.
Up or down vote, that's up to council.
And
We can do it.
and by the way, I would support that because we can then that we're not guided by this language.
Yeah.
We are basically saying that we are going to have a motion as a council to appoint, which is consistent with the law. It's still outside of the process. If there's going to be a process change, we need to talk. And this, we could eliminate the board and commission selection committee.
I
If
definitely
we
do not
decide.
support that.
No, but I'm
That's not
saying
going to happen.
there are, but there's a process. So
And you have been working with John for the last 6 months on that process.
I have, no, let's, Mayor, please. So I would believe that we're moving the agenda item of appointments to our agenda, but we're not moving this communication.
BZA.
Right.
So we remove the communication and that's
vote
the
on it.
amendment. So we vote to amend the consent agenda to remove that. And then we'll have to have guidance on how we go back and amend the agenda to move the appointment.
Motion to move item D, reappointments of BZA.
Yeah, any one member can remove.
Just be moved. It's, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's move.
As long as this communication doesn't move with it.
Right.
Oh, no, then
That
once
would be
it's at 9E, that's when you can deal with the material within the agenda item.
You can
So
make
that's
it-
when that can be amended.
Okay, all right,
We will
okay.
vote
All
for-
right. Yeah.
Not
I'm-
BZA.
yeah,
I didn't want to stop the process.
Yeah, okay, and I'm very comfortable with that.
So I move to move item D, reappointments to Board of Zoning Appeals, Stedham Calkins, to new business item E.
And then you'd approve, then with that move, we then move.
Well, I think I have to get that approved first, then we make a motion to approve the consent agenda as amended.
Any individual can remove it, so without an actual
Oh, so
motion,
there's no
so
motion?
you can
Just-
combine them all.
You can just say that a motion to approve the consent agenda less item.
So we are on
C.
consent agenda.
Is it C or D?
D.
It's item D.
It'll now be item E though on the new
Yes.
business.
Correct.
And then
Okay.
that's the motion also to approve it as well.
All right, and then, yeah, with that in mind, I move to approve the consent agenda as amended.
I'll,
Do you have that
That's good to go.
language?
Thank
Good. So I'm looking for support for that
I'll
motion.
support it.
Okay, we have support. Any other discussion on this? Seeing none, I think we can do this. All in favor, say aye. All and not in favor, say no. That's good. We're there. So anything else on so we approved the consent agenda right now. So if you're there at home, we are going to, the next level is presentations. You're going to hear a little bit about TIFs and about the new website. So Samantha, educate us on TIFs here tonight.
Good evening, Mayor and City, oops, it's on. Mayor and City Council. I hope that everyone had a safe and wonderful 4th of July. I know there is a presentation oh, beautiful.
There it is.
Oh,
Where
it's
it
up.
It's up there.
He'll stay with you.
All right.
Just let me know when.
All right, you can go ahead and scroll. I'm Sam Marias, your Brownfield Redevelopment Authority consultant. I wanted to come here today to give you a high-level presentation as to what the BRA saw at their meeting last month regarding changes that have occurred in the legislation, simply for informational purposes only. As everyone is aware, Brownfield was established in '96 really to address environmental contamination, specifically associated with a lot of our legacy industrial automotive manufacturing buildings. And since then, things have changed in our economy. That was then expanded in the 2000s to include buildings that are functionally obsolete and blighted. And now we have also added in housing development as an eligible property qualifier. Go ahead and scroll down. We can go one more. It's just my fun little graphic. Really, we're using this as
3 screens, everybody can look every place
No.
there.
so these are the different ways that any property can qualify under Michigan Public Act 381, which is still called the Brownfield Redevelopment Act. I just want to make it very clear that even though it still has the word brownfield in it, I wish that would have changed too. Any housing property is now considered eligible to use tax increment financing. So while the name hasn't changed, the legislation has really morphed over the years to become development specific tax increment financing, meaning that the tax that is generated on that property because it's redeveloped can be reinvested into that site for addressing contamination and infrastructure costs associated with that. So any property that's contaminated, functionally obsolete, blighted, a historic resource, adjacent to contiguous to properties with those concerns any tax reverted or land bank owned property, transit oriented property, or housing property is what our qualification is. Scroll on to the next slide. So why housing? You know, these discussions started happening around 2022, and in 2023, a study came out showing that Michigan has a housing deficit of nearly 200,000 units. Progress has been made to address that concern. As of 2025, 50,000 units were built or renovated, but we still have a very significant shortage. The governor made it a priority to increase our housing goal and build or renovate 115,000 units by 2027, which is very fastly approaching us. There are significant challenges when it comes to housing. Over the last 10 years, we have seen construction costs rise 30%, with 20 of that 30% occurring just since COVID alone. And the reason for the changes in this legislation is really to address what is defined as missing middle housing. So missing middle, as defined by MSHDA, the Michigan State Housing Development Authority, is individuals and households earning between 80% and 120% of the area median income. And I'll kind of give an example as to how that falls within both Oakland and Wayne counties in MSHDA standards. And go to the next slide. So we know our EGLE eligible activities, that's anything that's contamination. MEDC is its demolition and abatement. And what we're really focusing on are the MSHDA eligible activities that are new with the change in the legislation. So any housing development qualifies for infrastructure and site preparation, as well as demolition of existing buildings on that site for housing development. And the reason for that is they know that that's a very, infrastructure has to be built before a house can be built. And so we're setting the foundation and the groundwork for these homes to be built and helping to level the playing field to allow these houses to be built that are more attainable for developers, knowing that there can be a reimbursement to them for that infrastructure and site preparation costs as they complete the project. There is also provisions for rehabilitation projects. So that's where any temporary relocation or acquisition costs can be reimbursed. I've not seen that happen. We don't like to move people out of their homes, but that is eligible under the statute. And then the biggest piece is gap financing. And I think folks hear the term gap financing and assume that that is money upfront for development to fill and address a financial gap. But the way it's defined in the statute is gap financing is the difference between what it costs to construct the unit as to what can be afforded by any individual. And that delta between what it costs to construct and what it can be sold or rented for is what becomes the gap that is reimbursed through the taxes created on that site over time. Go to the next slide. So there's different provisions that now have to be included in any housing TIF plan. So within any brownfield plan that includes housing, that has to include housing studies. Back in 2022, MSHDA put together these regional housing partnerships and created areas throughout the state of Michigan. And these regional housing partnerships are the data that is relied upon primarily to support housing needs in any geographical area. Data has to be within the most recent 5 years, and MSHDA is starting to go and revamp that data to understand how far we've come. As I mentioned, this is to target missing middle, so 80 to 120% AMI, only from the tax revenue generated on that property. And there's ongoing compliance and certification that is associated with that project. So if we have any projects that have income restrictions that the unit cannot be rented to a household earning more than 120% of the area median income, the developer has to substantiate that those are being rented to income qualified individuals throughout the life of the project or throughout the time in which the plan exists. We can go to the next slide. So there's fun little gap calculations. These can be both for sale or for rent. For a for sale product, we look at the cost to develop the home minus the sale price of the home to an income restricted household. And that delta is what creates the MSHDA financing gap. For rent, there's a MSHDA published control rent. Those rents get published each year. And then we have the project rent time, then we get what that delta is as our rent loss times the number of units, times the years of affordability. And that gives us our overall financing gap, which is what you'd see in a potential future housing plan. However, again, any of these numbers in our brownfield plans are our best guess. They still have to substantiate that they are abiding by the law and what, is approved by this council in one of their plans. Next slide, please. So just to give a sense as to what 80 to 120% area median income is, same for both Oakland and Wayne counties. The 80% of your area median income is a household earning 83,000 and 120 is 125,000. The MSHDA states that the maximum rent for a 120% household is $3,270. And that published control rent is $4,310. So in this scenario, that calculation would be the published control rent minus the maximum rent gives us $1,040 in monthly rent gap. Go to the next slide, please. So continuing on with that example, if we were to have a 4-person household, a 3-bedroom unit, and 10 units that are income restricted to 120% AMI for a period of 10 years, it could be $1.2 million in potential rent loss. Just a fun little calculation that we get to add to the brownfield plans. But I just wanted everyone to know that this exists and it is to address, housing challenges and shortages. Go to the next slide, please. And there are times when these incentives make sense, and there are times when they don't. When there are significant site constraints, we have significant infrastructure gaps associated with that. Some adaptive reuse of buildings. I see this used a lot in renovations of like the upper units in apartments downtown. Of course, environmental issues, so we're going to look at any project that may potentially come forward and evaluate all of these on a case-by-case basis. I just really wanted to come here today to make everyone aware of the changes in the legislation. We're not to a point where we have any of these plans, but I wanted to say hello to everyone and let you know about the good old world of housing tech.
So thank you very much. And you went through this with the brownfield
I
organization?
certainly did.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Well, I'll just start and then John can.
Yes.
So John and I both serve on the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority Board, and you presented this is new tools for the toolbox. So it's becoming educated.
Yes,
And you're actually giving the short version.
I am. Yes, I did a long version.
So, to save you all. But one of the things is in what you was really helpful, I think, to the board was you talked about your experience in people that have moved forward with this to date, which is not terribly a lot yet, right?
Yeah, I'm to the point
So-
where we're just getting kind of the first
Right.
reimbursement request
So
in.
it's an awareness that, okay, there's a new tool available for our toolbox. How might or might not this fit into some of the challenges we have in Northville? It is recognized we have an attainable housing
Correct.
problem. And even persons like firefighters, police officers, teachers, have challenges, right? So, what are some tools we have to encourage or incentivize development that could meet these needs for our city? But that doesn't mean they're all appropriate.
Correct.
So, but we thought it would be good to get feedback from council, should there be more exploration of what tools fit, what under the law can we pick and choose versus once we say we'll do it, we have no control over what gets, requested of us. So does that give a little bit of a picture for where we're at? So it's sort of direction from council of, should we even explore this in terms of what makes sense for our city, if anything? Is that fair to what?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I guess what I will add, so thank you again. Good to see you.
Good to see.
And the reference that this was the short version is not an understatement because we spent several hours going through this. One thing I wanted to highlight on it as we talk about is we have not amended any of our brownfield documents. So this is not something that the group decided to incorporate in the current state. As was just referenced, it's available as an option in the future. future, but the decision was made that it's informing the city council was a good next step, not adopting or moving forward with it at this time. And the reason I want to highlight, or one thing I do want to highlight, is there's a big difference in my mind between a brownfield in its traditional form and a housing TIF. And one that I would highlight right off the bat is, and nobody in this room needs to hear me for the 75th time give my full brownfield speech, although I'm happy to do it afterwards because I'm really passionate about it. But a brownfield would be taking a area of land that for an extended period of time due to environmental issues has not been developed. We have 2 sites that have been approved in our town. One was the Downs, another one is the Foundry Flask, and leveraging tax capture to do the environmental cleanup, reimbursing the developer for that. And then in the long run, you have positive tax revenue. So in the short term, you are deferring that tax capture, but you actually, because there wasn't development there, we were not making any, or we had minimal tax revenue from that. And then in the long run, you actually have a significant uptick in terms of the tax position for the city. In a housing TIF, both in the short term and the long term, you're actually most likely going to see a decrease in the tax capture. Because in the initial, you're obviously collecting less as you're incentivizing the developer to have a certain housing type that may be below the market. And then in the long term, you now have that home that is going to be assessed at a lower value that may also bring less in. I'm dramatically oversimplifying that, I understand, but it's something that's an important difference because that is a strategic decision and an investment. From a Northville standpoint, I don't think there's many people that are looking at our town right now and saying we don't have enough demand for people to move into town, and we need to be trying to aggressively incentivize new development or new houses moving in. I think most people are recognizing that on a per capita basis, we have one of the highest growth rates in the state right now because of the Downs development and some of the other developments that are happening in the surrounding area. And so for me at this time, I don't think we hit that initial incentive. I think in terms of, there's a real conversation. We had a very good one around where people live, access within our community. I would frankly need to see more data because I think we can't just think in terms of 2 square miles. We need to think in terms of in the surrounding area, do we have housing available for people to work that or live that then work in town? We don't want people that work in town driving 2 hours, but I think there are options that are at a reasonable place nearby. But I'd be open to the data around that. So that's where, just from a little context, I know I'm getting into a little bit of the weeds of the conversation we had, but that was where, as we were having the conversation, we didn't see an immediate need to embrace this program now. We did raise the point that if Planning Commission did want to have a conversation around this as part of master plan, and if there's specific areas.
Yes.
And one example was, if we look at some of the units downtown, if there was a renovation, a house that we felt like needed support in order to get it repaired or fixed, or we had a property that might fall into that, we could discuss that on a one-off basis. But I would need to see data to support that. And I would need to have a clear answer of how, from a fiscal standpoint, it puts the city in a good position long-term.
Yeah.
And we talk about the Mishta Regional Housing Partnerships. Northville's is very unique. And when you're aggregating multiple counties together, it does not tell your specific story. So that's something, as you know, your consultant in reviewing these plans, we would want to really look and give a deep dive as to what the financial need is, if there is one, and then what's that long-term fiscal impact for the community.
And also exploring how targeted can we be in what we would allow, if anything. Following from what John said, and you had mentioned it, historic buildings. So the DDA had identified that there are a number of buildings in our commercial area of the historic district that don't utilize their upper floors, that they could be modified for residential, but because of contamination issues, infrastructure issues, it's very difficult for them as an individual building owner to do that. It's just, it's not like, oh, this is a new building and I want to modify it. So are there targeted ways that we can incentivize and help historic building owners to make better use of their space in a way that I would think they may want to, some of them, but it's just cost prohibitive in some matters. So it's those sort of.
And with that
items.
perspective, there's a huge push for the Michigan Housing Act, Affordable Housing Act at the end of last year. I spent quality time in the governor's office to what was just mentioned. Yes, let's modify what we have. At the Downs, that would be 1,442 residents. It wouldn't be the 680 hours of deliberations that we heard from everybody in here, the Brazens and Snyders, Andrew and others. It was unbelievable, with no green space, no ingress and egress out of there. So
Significantly
we have affordable housing for our seniors. One of the touch points,
Wow.
$850 for a really good 1-bedroom, $1,050 for a 2-bedroom. We have Section 8 in Swan Harbor within a half a mile of the Downs area. So imagine 1,440 some homes at the Downs. So that was one of the examples in the state. It didn't pass, but it was pretty close. It was in like 3 or 4 votes to pass, which means we wouldn't have the deliberation that we're having here. It would be from the state level. So, and Brownfield is part of that to put money in and all of it. So yes, all the work from our Brownfield and people on the
Got a great
affordable
crew.
housing is quite something. Anything else to add?
Great job explaining that. You really,
Absolutely.
that was nice and easy for me.
Thank you.
I mean, they took it away. I'm not gonna keep you here.
You want the 2-hour version? I can go.
So at this point, is there any comments from those in the audience at this point? Okay, going once, going twice. I'm closing it off here. Any hand raisers online?
Not at this time, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much, Samantha.
you so
Thanks for the
much. Appreciate
education
it.
here
Thank you.
today.
Did we have,
So now we're going to hear something wild and exciting, the new website. So if you would come up here, Courtney, and you're going to share online directly. Are you not? You two you're working it out before. Hopefully you're going to tell me it's up and going.
Yes,
Good.
sir.
Excellent. Tell us about the new website. Why, where, when is it coming?
Yes, sir. So, good evening, Mayor and Council. This is my first time presenting at Council. So
Yeah.
it's exciting. I'm excited to
Congratulations.
share.
welcome.
I'm excited to share the new website with you. It's been in the making for a long time. So this is just a sneak peek. The website will launch officially this Wednesday, July 8th at 10 o'clock a.m. So if you try to get on at around 10 o'clock, it might be a little slow at first because they got to turn everything on, switch everything over. But after those first 10 minutes, we should be up and running and be good to go. A couple things I want to highlight before I give you a quick run through of the website is the biggest change that we have made is we have a brand new URL. So our current site, www.ci.northville.mi.us is no longer. So our new URL,
Come right up move the mic a little bit closer to her.
is this better?
Yep, right up to the
Okay.
mouth. Yep. He will
Yeah.
help you even.
Our new URL will be cityofnorthvillemi.gov. So switching to a .gov gives us a more secure site and a more trustworthy site. Along with that, our staff email addresses are also changing to that email at cityofnorthvillemi.gov. That will all be happening the same day.
What is the period, and sorry to interrupt, but what's the period for forwarding on our old email addresses? Because
Yes, so that was my next point. It's a
Good.
great question.
Because people have those.
Yeah, so the community will take a long time to get used to all these new changes. So all of our emails will get forwarded for forever. And the same
Okay,
as the old URL will get forwarded for a year.
Okay.
Thank you.
So with that, I'm excited to kind of walk you through some of the stuff that we have going on. The first thing you'll notice is it's branded with our official city colors, and throughout is our city, all of the stuff that's in our branded style guide, which is very important. So some of the biggest complaints we had about the site was it's not very user friendly. It's kind of hard to find stuff. So the first thing I want to highlight is our mega menu here. You'll notice that as you scroll, this stays with you the entire way down. So no matter where you're at on the site, you'll have access to the main 5 tabs. The next thing you'll notice that's different is as you scroll over these tabs, instead of just seeing what the departments are, you can see the page and all of the sub pages. So maybe you know what you're looking for is under finance, but you're not quite sure where. You can see everything that we have to offer here, and you can
And I
find
think
items
most of
that
you
way.
use the old one. It's like finding Waldo. All the documents were there, and I got 10 to 12 calls a day. We can't find it. It was there.
Yes.
We have tried to make it as simple as possible so things drag down with you. So
Yes.
we hear you, and some of you in here gave those comments. It was tough to find. Yeah, if we could close that door too. Great.
And then the next way we try to make it as user-friendly as possible is our search feature. So on our current site, we use a third-party vendor that's just embedded in our site, and it's not great functional-wise. But this search feature is a direct Civic Plus product. It is in our site. And with that, I went through every page and subpage and added an average between anywhere from 5 to 15 keywords for each page that I think I try to put on my resident brain and say, like, if I was looking for something on this page, what would I search? So hopefully that helps as well to eliminate some time consuming looking on the website. So as we scroll, you'll notice we have some buttons here. You can for some of the main things people search on our site. You'll also notice that as we go into a internal page, as I said before, this is on every page, but you'll also have those buttons on every page as well. That way, the main things people come on our site for are always easily accessible. You'll also notice on our internal pages, our branding is still there, and it just looks very professional, and you'll see all of that incorporated throughout the entire site. I'll go back to the home page here. I'll scroll down. We'll have some other stuff you can look at here. You can sign up and stay connected to all of our newsletters, some other resources we'll have throughout. As we keep scrolling, you come up to our calendar. So this is something that's slightly different is we'll have a meetings calendar and an events calendar. So you can check out like what meetings are going on. And then if you just want to know about events, if you don't want to come to the meetings or vice versa. And you can view all, and you'll see a larger breakdown of those if you were to click view all. So as we keep scrolling, you'll see we'll still have our latest news. So you can scroll through and see all of the great stuff happening throughout Northville. We also have our Facebook embedded into the site now. So if you're not on social media or you just kind of want to see what's going on and what we're sharing, you'll have access to that.
Right.
And as we keep scrolling, you'll get to the bottom. You'll notice we have incorporated this little swoop footer here to kind of match our logo. And then you have some more quick links, some site links, how to contact us, and our social media is down here as well. A couple other notes I want to add. This website will be fully ADA compliant at the time of launch. But it is very easy for sites to fall out of ADA compliance, and Civic Plus offers a lot of tools that we can incorporate in the future. So I'm looking into those as something that we can maybe look at in the future as well. Staff, department heads also had a training on how to update their website pages and also how to maintain that ADA compliance as they're making their updates as well. This new site is mobile friendly. I know our current site is not the easiest to use when you're on your cell phone. So this will help with a lot of that as well. And then the last thing I want to mention is we didn't just take all of the old content and slap some makeup on it and make it look good. We consolidated a lot of the content, updated all of it, got rid of some outdated stuff, basically cleaned everything up, and the new site is completely refreshed and ready to go. And just as a reminder, the new site will go live this Wednesday, July 8th at 10 o'clock.
And we ask you all, go out there and navigate. See what's working for us. Give us what's good. Give us opportunities. Courtney's been working on this for 6 or 8 months and people have been testing. Go in there. I heard from a lot of you before the stuff was there, but it was very tough to get to. It should be user friendly. I mean, they even got me looking at it and going through and testing. It is so much better than it was. But as I look around you in the room, you're the ones that used it before on documents. So I would ask you to do that. Get back with people from council or with Courtney directly, or there'll be comments that you can come back right on the website too. Yes, George.
Just a quick comment I want to make, and just to thank Courtney for all of her work. This has been a real chore over the past year. It's been a strategic priority set by council, so obviously a very important task. This is how a lot of people interact with us. They get information, self-service information at night, anytime. So it really is important to have this available for our residents for sharing information, useful information. We did an RFP process, developing an RFP. That all started last summer. So Courtney has done a tremendous amount of work to get us to this point. A lot of other staff have had to review and do a lot of document review of all those pages. So thanks to all of them for doing it. And also this in terms of staff and council, in terms of support and setting this as a priority for us. So
our pleasure.
Hopefully the residents find it to be a very useful tool, and certainly we'd like to hear the feedback. So
and it came from, as I look out here, a lot of you. it was tough to navigate to get out there. It is so much better, and you're going to tell us how to make it even better in the future. So thank you for listening to all those changes as we've worked over the last 6 or 8 months, and I thank all of you on that too. Any other comments for Courtney?
I'll be quick. First off, thank you. I know a lot of work goes into building this out and I appreciate all the effort. I will also say that I think I have lost years of my life trying to find documents on the old site. And so I can relate to the struggles of that search engine to nowhere as it was for so long. Couple general comments. One, if we have recommendations or as we're using it, if we have I want to find the brownfield document and I have a keyword and then I end up navigating. Can we just provide those to you to say, hey, I think adding this would help people connect these two dots?
Absolutely. Yeah.
I'm assuming that's a pretty easy process to
Yeah,
add.
absolutely. I'm anticipating that after this goes live, there are going to be some tweaks we'll have to make.
Yes.
Just as we get people actually using the site. So absolutely.
Second item was, how do we plan to communicate the new website? Are we going to be putting that on our social media links so that everybody can see it's launched? And
Yes, I developed a whole campaign that will go out on social media and city news for the next couple of weeks, kind of letting people know where they can find us.
Okay, and just so I don't lose any more years of my life, all the prior minutes and agenda that were on there were carried over from the old website into the new platform,
Yeah.
correct?
Yep.
Might be easier to
Thank
find
you.
them too.
Just thank you, Courtney. Can't wait to see it. So thank you for your work.
Thank you.
Well, and so I guess I share your pain in how complicated this can be. About 5 years ago, I was the designated professional staff member to interact on our website, being moved from one platform to another and then updating it. And the professionals that we contracted with to do that, and we continue to work with them today, were amazing, to have that support, but it required that input and guidance. It was like, but that transition worked smoothly. But what did occur is it was getting that feedback from other staff members or from clients to say, oh, I couldn't find this. And so it was that having you as that point of contact. George and I talked about this for people that I can't find this, as you mentioned, or this is missing, because there were a lot of documents missing from it, because it was sort of like, okay, we're updating the website, we're not going to load more. So all of those things, and even having, I don't know if it would be a dedicated email for residents to say, I was looking, to give their feedback if they had any quirks with the system, because they're going to happen, no matter how well it's done and all the intentions. And this is a long time coming. I've been serving for 6.5 years, and probably all of us when we came on thought we need to fix that website and so I thank you so much for all the effort I can relate to that it took to do this. And thank you.
Awesome. Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
And we're going to have a really simpler
We are.
email
And you're gonna
address.
get- Any other comments
Email address is
for
much
those
better.
that are in council chambers on that? We've heard you. You're going to tell us if we made those changes right. Continue to communicate. I think you're going to find all the things you've been saying for the past few years will be connected. We'll hopefully make it even simpler on different word choices when you go in there on search engines. Good. I'm closing it off here. Is there anybody online with their hand up for this?
Let's take a look. Not at this time, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, so I'm closing off public comment online on this. Thank you, Courtney. It's long overdue. We knew this when we first came in back in the early 2020s. It had to be done and be modern out there. So now, Justin, this is a Justin show, I think 3 in a row. We're on 9A, purchases, sales, contracts. This is the second reading. Tell us about this, Justin.
Good evening. So the first reading of this ordinance amendment was considered and approved at your last meeting. There have been no changes to the ordinance since the first reading. Again, this is to modernize the purchasing thresholds, update the city manager's role to clarify that he is the purchasing officer for the city and give him contract execution authority. There's also other minor administrative updates to the ordinance that the finance director discussed at the last meeting. There is a motion in your packet to move this forward for adoption. Again, there's been no changes. There's a clean copy and a red line version in your packet.
Right. So any questions? We went through in greater detail at the last meeting, and was there any additions or changes from the last time?
There have not been any. There was some discussion about the purchasing thresholds at that time. I think the finance director, in response to a question from Councilmember Janetti, said we were comfortable at the staff level. We spent a lot of time going through this over many
Barbara even
months.
mentioned to up it a little bit too.
Well, it was because that hadn't been updated since 1980, and I think it was myself and who was it? Councilmember Chris, we had done the inflation calculator and it would have been a lot higher than this. So it was just my saying, are you sure you're at the right level? Because if you're updating it, it was still low, but you guys were comfortable and you can always come back and ask for an adjustment.
We won't wait 46 days.
That's
to come
fair.
back.
You know, that's, yeah. The one thing I would, this is a question, technical question for Justin, is the red lines, if you go under the different sections, it'll have like code 1980 so is there going to be an annotation within this section of when it was like this, that this update occurred?
It will. Yeah.
So it won't say 1980.
It won't. It'll be updated, and that's done through Municode, so they'll make those.
They'll make it, okay. Not that 80 can't be there because the true history would have different amendments.
It should be there, and then the amendment will be.
Okay, so that happens automatically.
Correct.
Thank you.
Excellent. Anybody else?
Yeah, I mean, we covered it last time. It hasn't been updated since 1980. The thresholds are still lower than our peer communities. I think it's a reasonable place, and the idea of us spending $3,000 in staff time to review and build out an approach for a $2,000 project is excessive. So I think right sizing it all so that the review process is aligned with the amount of money being spent just makes sense.
I know that Justin is going through all the policies and procedures. Some of these are 10 years old, 50 years old, 100, 150 years old. He is modernizing us. It's one by one. If you go to the Planning Commission, you can see the modernization of different policies and procedures. So thank you. Sleep is overrated. We appreciate you don't need that yet. You're young. Okay, good. Any comments for, this is a public hearing, is it not?
It's a second reading and a
second reading, and we will go with the motion. Is there any comments from those in council chambers? Seeing none, I'm closing off those comments. You got quite a few last time. Is there anybody online for this first one?
Not at this time, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, it's not quite as exciting, but it's exciting for you, I know. So I'm looking, you have a sample motion in your package.
I can start off the fun here. I move to approve the second reading and adopt the ordinance amending Chapter 2, Article 2, Division 2, and Chapter 2, Article 5, Division 2 of the Code of Ordinances.
And so I have a motion. I'm looking for support of that motion.
Support.
We have support. Any other discussion on this motion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Good, you got the first one. Second one, zoning ordinance for yard definitions and the whole bit. Excite us about this.
So this is coming from what Councilmember Krenz coined as zoning ordinance palooza at the Planning Commission. They had public hearings at their last meeting and they recommended several ordinances for amendment to council, this being one of them. The yard definitions are proposed to be clarified to more clearly explain the intent behind them. So this is not to reapply the standards or create new dimensional standards. It's just to clarify what is a yard. This came out of a recent Board of Zoning Appeals appeal of a director decision regarding the application of a rear yard on a corner lot, and that appeal exposed some ambiguities in the definitions of the ordinance. And Councilmember Krenz could probably speak on that if he was here. But this, again, is just to clarify the definitions. It also is clarifying the graphics associated with those definitions. Again, not anything new, just clarification of existing ordinance language. This was unanimously recommended by the Planning Commission.
Great. No, I heard that.
Just, so and I'm alternate liaison to the Board of Zoning Appeals and Planning. And it was a very interesting and robust discussion at BZA, and then also a good discussion at Planning on this. Attended both. And it really helped. I mean, it was clear, but not, the way it was. And so this will be very helpful. The one thing it does not do, and your intention was not to do it, is one of the things that came out, because I think they challenged your determination, which they supported your determination, not the applicant. Somebody requested a determination, and the other is then they came in for a variance request. When they were denied.
Correct.
When they upheld yours. So what happened was, and it still exists, and it's appropriately not addressed here, but it was a little bit frustrating for BZA because the way the setback in the rear yard was, because it was complicated, but the applicant actually had to push their garage closer to the house. So it took away their usable yard, remember that? And then it left a big gap, like a pretty big area in the rear of the yard that was like unusable and really, it's gonna look kind of odd, but it was in compliance. That was the way it was. So I know that I have received feedback post that there might be those on those commissions that would appreciate that being looked at. Is there something that wouldn't cause that oddity? But it's beyond this. So I fully support this one.
Good. Anything else?
It wasn't until reviewing the minutes from planning that I realized we needed to define what a yard is, but
It is.
I think this captures the conversation well, so
Okay.
fully support.
Yes.
Thank you for the work on that, especially the corner ones. No, but absolutely. Any comments from those in council chambers? Anybody online? I'm closing comments from council chambers. Anybody online, Ken?
Not at this time, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. So you have a sample motion in the package for us.
That's correct.
I'm looking for that motion to be on the table. Who would like to do that?
All right, I guess I'll keep the momentum going. I move to approve the first reading of an ordinance amending section 2602 definitions of the zoning ordinance relating to yard definitions and illustrations, with the second reading and adoption scheduled for July 20th, 2026.
Support.
So we have a motion properly supported. Any other discussion? Something we said, for God's sakes? No. No other discussion? I think we can do this one for you too. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Good. So you have two. You're 2 for 2. See if you can about 1,000 here. So the next one is on residential building heights, grading, foundations. Tell us about that.
This is another ordinance that was unanimously recommended by the Planning Commission to council, and it's picking up from an ordinance that City Council and the Planning Commission worked on back in 2016 relative to compatibility of new development in established neighborhoods. The city at that time had created standards for grading, drainage, foundation wall heights, standards for fill on properties, defined grade and grade plane. And the Planning Commission ultimately, back in 2021, had some further discussion on it. At that time, decided that it just wasn't a priority with everything else going on, or just, I think the master plan update was going on at the time, and there just wasn't capacity to work on this ordinance. And so 5 years later, and really 10 years later after adoption, we got back to it. The Planning Commission reviewed a lot of feedback from residents about development and infill development in neighborhoods, and this ordinance is a direct response to that. Your staff report outlines what the changes would be. It's reducing residential building height by 2 feet in R1A and up to 4 feet in R1B, revising the foundation wall standard from 36 inches above grade plane from finished grade to 30 inches from existing grade. It was just a flaw in the way the existing ordinance was written. It didn't achieve the intent. Establishing an objective standard for first floor elevations to no more than 3 feet above grade and no more than 18 inches above first floor of your neighbors. So that is a big point for compatibility with surrounding properties. Clarifying the existing definitions of building height and grade plane, that they're not clear in the ordinance. Right now, the ordinance does allow imported fill to be brought into a property, and we eliminate that except to address documented drainage issues, floodplain concerns, or other issues that can be demonstrated need to be addressed by fill. Standards for bringing in a grading plan at the conclusion of a project. Standards that do not allow the grade to be manipulated post-construction, either by landscaping or other site improvements. That was something the Planning Commission specifically requested that was added to the ordinance that's before you tonight. Happy to answer any questions.
Great. We appreciate the continuity is what you're trying to get to.
Yes, and I think this is,
and it was a little haphazard.
this is just to more fully implement the original intent of the Planning Commission and City
Clean it up.
Council.
Absolutely.
Just to clean up
Yep.
10 years later.
Yep. Thank you for that. Any questions from council members on this one? Continuity of
Just,
building heights.
I'm very grateful that Justin was able to take this on, and based on sitting at the development of this to its final form that comes before us, Planning Commission was very grateful for it. And certainly it addresses years of adjacent property owners' concerns related to particularly the infill of buildings. And so I fully support it as written and very much appreciate it. It wasn't an easy one to amend, and it was just very technical, and I think it was very well done. Thank you.
Any other comments for Justin? Any comments? Come right up, Jeff. No, they have to hear you at home too.
I just want to applaud Justin for that. I mean, I was in the planning commission in 2016. I think you checked off every box of concern that I've had ever since then. That's an excellent job. A question for you though. You said there's a maximum height off existing grade and then an 18-inch off the adjacent. Is there a maximum between the two? I mean, you can't be 30 plus 18. No, okay.
If they want me to answer a question.
Oh, that's fine.
Okay.
We
will get that too.
Thank you again.
Excellent. Anybody else from, get back with them tomorrow on that, absolutely. Anybody here? Closing this up. Anybody online?
Not at this time, Mr. Mayor.
I'm not too excited about building heights tonight. Okay, so with that, I'm closing off public comment. There is a motion in your package.
Oh, Mayor?
Yes, go right ahead.
If
Barb.
possible, maybe Justin could answer that question.
Sure.
Just for
You don't have to
clarification.
wait.
Well, it'd be clarification,
Yep.
yeah.
If that's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay. I'm giving you the authority.
They're not two separate standard. They are two separate standards. So it's not 36 inches plus 18 inches. It's 36 inches from existing grade and then 18 inches from adjacent properties. Two separate standards.
And one of the challenges will be moving forward is that original grade prior to demolition, development needs to be documented.
We discussed
And
that. at the
that,
planning
you know, because that's, the grade was being documented when it already had, fill. So that was a super big improvement.
Right. If you can get back with Jeff, you might have additional questions on that tomorrow. Thank you. Thanks for at least starting that. Okay, you good? Okay, he's good. You're very clear. Thank you. So with that, I'm looking for a motion for that to go
I
forward.
am going to gladly take this
Okay,
one.
take that one. It's right in front of you.
I move to approve the first reading of an ordinance amending section 15.02, 18.20, 18.21, and 26.02 of the zoning ordinance pertaining to residential building heights, grading, foundation walls, and related definitions, with the second reading and adoption scheduled for July 20th, 2026.
Support. We have a motion. We have support. Any other discussion on this motion? The four of you? Seeing none, I think we can do this one for you too. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say
Thank you.
no. Thank you. Good. So you're 3 for 3. You're batting 1,000. So now we will go, I believe it's Barbara's request and then the BZA vote. Is that correct?
Yep.
That's what I have on mine.
Again,
So a
yeah.
discussion for I know
Well,
you read a lot.
I was going to give the background.
Give a background if you'd like.
But yeah, so I did submit it for public comment, so it becomes part of the record.
Yes.
Because it's pretty detailed in it. So I just want to kick off by saying I'm raising a matter that goes to the integrity of how this council appoints members to our boards and commissions and to the public's trust that these appointments are made lawfully, transparently, and objectively. I want to be clear at the outset about what I am not saying. I'm not asking this body tonight to find that anyone has committed misconduct or a violation of council or city procedure. I am asking the opposite, that we recognize we are not the right body or group to resolve these questions on our own, and that we refer them for an independent, impartial review, which is allowed under our charter. Nothing I say tonight is a judgment about the character or qualifications of any member who applied to serve on the Planning Commission which there are 5 applicants, and in the line I listed them, or for the qualified BZA applicants, as we've already talked. It's rather what want addressed is the conduct of the appointment process itself. So I've already gone through about BZA, right, which was the first item I had in terms of what was included in that mayor communication that we removed from the consent agenda. So I'll move right to the planning commission appointments. A communication recommending 3 planning commission appointments was placed in and then withdrawn from our July 6th council packet on the evening of July 2nd. It was withdrawn after I identified in writing a set, what I thought was serious concerns that I needed to alert. And I want those problems on the record tonight because the underlying conduct is not resolved simply because the document was withdrawn. One is there was unresolved question under the charter's anti-nepotism provision under 5.3. And then I go into detail here, which if you want me to read that, I can read that in terms of what my knowledge was about that. And there is more information. Do you want me to just pass over that? Okay. So, but it is on the record in the public comment.
You all have this. It's in your package. If you look up on your phone.
Yeah, I submitted it under public comment because it's the only way I can get it on the record, the full text. And then also that communication that was withdrawn asserted an urgency that the law does not support. The mayor's withdrawn communication asserted that the planning commission would be unable to seat its members or its chair at the July 7th meeting if we did not act tonight. That is not correct. The members with expiring terms, including the chair, continue to serve until their successors are appointed. That is under Michigan law. So we're not hurting the planning commission or any applicant that will come before them they have an important meeting tomorrow night. So, yes. So, and I had brought the holdover provision to the mayor and others' attention in writing and in conversations before this packet was finalized in June, at a couple emails in June and then direct conversations with the mayor on a couple of dates. There was no emergency requiring us to bypass our normal process. The next is an incomplete planning commission applicant pool, which was described by our city attorney. 5 residents submitted timely applications for the planning commission and only 4 were interviewed. I was not able to confirm that because I don't present things for theater or hearsay. I did get that applicant did call me, which I had requested, like, can I talk directly? And they shared the confirmation email they automatically received from the city saying that they did submit their application on May 7th. And then as soon as I had the conversation, I was able to report it. Yes. And I shared it with George. So I did it as soon as I had confirmation versus hearsay. So I did not get a response from the city manager, but I think it was conveyed. Our consistent practice is that council does not appoint until all timely applicants have been considered. And I think the city attorney acknowledges that. Why does this require an independent review rather than other in-house opinion? So in June, our city attorney had advised me, now that was just me, because I had already been really concerned about this prior to that for 2 other instances, but that there wasn't, an anti-nepotism, nor was there any conflict of interest provision that required recusal. We couldn't find one, so it's one, is the person disqualified, but you could end up in a different situation where you want an arm's length. So you would want someone to recuse themselves if there's some personal interest or concern. But we don't have anything. Our code of, which I voted no on, our code of conduct, which deals with ethics and standards, doesn't have anything about behavior. So that idea of a recusal, which some of our commissions and boards have, we do not have. So when I brought that to the attention, it was very shortly the same day, because I didn't realize there was that anti-nepotism clause. Shame on me. I was relying on confirmations I had that everything was that we didn't have that provision. Once it came to my attention, I read it and immediately communicated that to our city. Is that fair to our city attorney?
And we assume whether it's Barbara
Okay.
or I or the previous ones, when it comes,
So,
when it comes to us, it's.
so
but
this,
we are,
okay.
But just when it comes to us, we assume that it's gone through all the screens. We appreciate that, Mary.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So-
I'm just clarifying.
So,
what you said.
but what I want to say is this is not a criticism to be settled tonight, but it is a reason for independence. There are many things that have happened in the past month, and you'll even see going back to earlier this year that it's been extremely difficult. So on the last is about the mayor's assertion that our board and commission selection committee process, and it's about that and our integrity of council's board and commission member appointments. I do disagree with our city attorney's opinion on this, and I don't think it'll hold up to close scrutiny. I was just given access to the minutes for the 2000 to 2010 period, which is my understand when they evolved into a two-person board and commission selection board that serves as a standing committee. That committee has been acknowledged every 2 years at our biennial organizational meeting, including in November, where 2 members are appointed. And the process can be changed as we did in the prior 2-year cycle, as I mentioned, related to beautification. So it can always be brought, it could be abolished, right? Or it can be amended, like, let's make it more efficient and let's do it this way. We can agree to that and change that process. And even with my lovely time looking over to date the 2005 to 2008 minutes, there were 2 council meetings a month, guys. So it's been fun. Is you can see where there were some changes made, even to where we are today. That's if something was done through appointment by a recommendation from the board of who they wanted on it. So things change, and that's okay. But there's a process for making that change and is not unilateral. And that's what occurred here. And everything, all the details below it. So what I'm asking tonight is I'm asking council to move using our charter investigations section 0.9. This council has the authority to inquire into the conduct of any officer or officer of the city and any acts thereof and all the situations that brought this about. So under Charter Attorney Functions and Duties, Section 410F, also, this council may, on its own initiative, retain independent, the term is independent special counsel. I don't know that it needs to be an attorney, but some sort of independent review by somebody not affiliated with this. Yes, and then I list here, and I don't know if you want me to read the motion of the topics that would be covered in that independent study, but I have those bulleted into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 points. But we can first discuss what I'm asking, and then I can more specifically go over what the motion would include.
We will ask for that motion in a minute. We will put this open to public comment too. So anybody that had comment out there, your comment will be up here. It's not questions, it is comment. And get ready. We will have any comments from us first. Is there anybody here that would like to say something? And then do you want to go first or?
You go ahead.
So I'll speak to it and then we could discuss after. So my time on selections is frankly measured in hours and not months and weeks, although I have been working with Councilperson Murawski Brown on that transition process as we move from her to me on selections going forward. The one thing I did want to highlight is the selections process at its core is one of the most important things we do as a body. The selections committee is one of the most important entities that we have. And we need to make sure we protect that. I think that is very important. I will also be direct that this process was a mess. The fact that we had an applicant not received, an applicant that did not meet the requirements of the charter proceeding through and being recommended, removal of that agenda item and the extension of the current planning team was 100% the right answer. We need to pause, take those people off, make sure we've interviewed all qualified candidates, have a conversation as a selection committee, make a recommendation back to this body, and then this body will provide its input as well as we go through the consent process from our legislative branch. So agree with all of that. I will also highlight that I have a concern that goes beyond just the planning appointment. The fact that we interviewed this person for multiple roles, that they served on beautification, it is difficult to me that this was just discovered now, that we had
I
a
agree.
selection board that made appointments with something that was in contradiction. I also want to recognize the fact that Jason did a lot of work on beautification, and I want to thank him for his effort on that body. These are volunteer roles. I know we all like to act like we're very important, but in reality, we're all volunteering to serve our community, and I am appreciative of all of his effort in that. I also think the reality is based on the wording of the charter, he needs to step down from beautification. That's going to be part of that process as well. So I will pause for to hear public comment, and then we can talk about the independent review. But I just wanted to get on record kind of an initial recognition of the situation we're in, and then we can have we receive public feedback and then have a conversation on the best way to move forward.
Absolutely. Anything?
I just like to move quickly to modernize this as Justin's done in all of these things with the processes and procedures. This is not personal, I would hope. This is not about these applicants. As far as I'm concerned, you're all, anyone who wants to do this, you're good in my books, but this is our opportunity to do this, make sure regardless of who's on council, we're making these, that's just part of the rules like we follow every day. So hopefully people were, misstep, people didn't know, we have to assume the best. And hopefully we can move along and get this in stone so this doesn't happen again. And everyone's crystal clear of the rules.
And on this, as we started saying earlier, we assume when it gets to us, those longevity, the residency, the standards have already been gone through all the different filters. We have gone through 3 clerks. We are working on the policies and procedures on the present one. We thought we were there. And over 7 years, as we've talked, and 5 different council people on there, did a great job. Again, we were majority, everyone was unanimous. There was only 1 in 7 years that wasn't a unanimous choice. It wasn't unusual timing. Last month, as some of you know, I had some restrictions. I had some medical activities. I couldn't get around as much. We put the meetings to the end of the month. Didn't realize somebody was on vacation in the month, put it to him, put it to Barbara. I got it. It was on me. I waited to the end of the month to do that. That is when I was available. As some of you know, I was not available on different things. Would we do it the same? Maybe not. We will tighten up who can qualify before it gets to this board and who can't. This board shouldn't decide. By the time it got to us, we should have it. These are the qualified individuals, and we will do it. And online, Courtney has left. Hopefully online, we will get that directly. We've gone from one system to a different system. That was, and we found out Friday too, that was coming in, and somebody came in with their real application, but it came online, that they had done it in May.
Well,
so,
they had submitted it May 7th.
Right.
And
nobody
he was
had known
advised to
that.
go in the office on Monday.
We probably should have known that here. So shame on our system, shame on us. We assume when it comes to us, it's the right activity. So I take blame for some of the timing on this. Yes, of course, I wanted John to have some experience on this too. And yes, we have talked back and forth how we transition. This is the first time we've had a 6 months transition from one person to another. I would love to be off of this instead of them coming to me for recommendations on it. I will. Tony, is there anything to add that we didn't before I open it up to public comment that you've heard here tonight?
No, I don't think so. I mean, there's just the understanding that we did get everything right. There were acknowledgements once we figured out that an applicant was missed, that the charter provision, anti-nepotism section 5.13 applies. So everyone's in agreement as to what we're doing right now that's sitting at the dais right now. And I think that that's really important. And, you know, the procedure, Councilmember Morosky Brown and I went through a lot of different review. We spent hours working on the different potential implications.
More recently, yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Regarding appointment of a family member, and we've reviewed very thoroughly. We got to the right answer, but there was a lot of different items we were considering throughout that time. So I think the process played out properly. And we'll, you know, and obviously we'll make sure that those appointments are accurate when they're brought back before the council.
Right. Anything that you'd like to add to that?
I do want to point out that there was this unfortunate glitch. We still don't know exactly how it happened. It seems like the applicant applied to Civic Live website. They got a bounce back of a receipt showing that they applied it on May 7th. And we did a review. Not only the clerk reviewed the email box that it's supposed to go to, but we had the IT administrator go back through to see if somehow an email was deleted on accident, waylaid. And it appears that no email on anywhere near those dates was received from the Civic Live website. Don't know how it happened. At this point, we're going to a new website. So I'm going to go back through, and we've done this before, is to test the website and send in a couple of fake applications to make sure that it bounces the right way. But for some reason, it didn't go through. So certainly apologize to the applicant that they were missed. It appears at this point to be a glitch of the system and unrelated to the clerk's efforts or to council in any way. It just didn't get to us in time, but now we know and fix the process and be sure we interview this.
Courtney's going through the beta. We want to know everyone comes in right now. She is working it right now. She worked 6 or 8 months on the website. She's worked the last week or so. Does every application come in on that website too? And we're working with the clerk's office, just to tighten this up too. Yes, I think we've gotten everybody's attention on this. Once it gets here, it should pass every one of those filters. We shouldn't have any of this discussion, who, what, where, and when, because it came here and they all qualify. So from that, any other comments here before we go to the vote? Come right up, Mary. I think you are up.
My name is Mary Elwart Keys, and I live at 502 West Main Street. First of all, I'd like to thank Councilman Morosky Brown for your research and doggedness on this issue that was very upsetting to a lot of citizens. I thank you. I have sent you a letter with all of my issues in it. You have it to read. There's some things I would like to pull out and some additional things that I would like to say. I would also like to address the top of this meeting. I believe it was inappropriate for the mayor to address this topic before it was on the agenda, and I found his comments very prejudicial, and I think they should be stricken from the record. Beyond that, I think that his talking on top of Ms. Morosky Brown was inappropriate and akin to bullying. Okay, to the topic at hand. Every member of the city council, as well as the city manager, took an oath of office prior to commencing their important work with the city. You voted to uphold the city charter, the rules, the Constitution. So it boggles my mind that for years, nobody understood that there was an anti-nepotism clause. And I'm hearing a lot of dancing tonight, but that is hard for me to believe. And for Ms. Morosky Brown to have asked for a review with our attorney, whose job it is to make sure that we are complying with the law, for him to tell her that there was no problem is also a big red flag.
He corrected it.
Yeah. Okay. But to say that you were not aware is ignorance under the law is no excuse. So yeah, I think that in the public eye, this information, this serious law in your process has seriously impacted people's confidence in the system. Also, in terms of Mr. Snyder's comments, it was inappropriate for the mayor to address him directly after he made his comments.
Correct. We try not to respond to things. I apologize, Jeff, for that. I will talk to you later.
Cindy Brazen, 370 Fairbrook. I'm going to start out kind of positive. But my first request is that we consider resuming the Zoom application. This calling in business is just a clunker. Nobody calls in. We used to have a lot of people call in, not anymore. And also I would request that the public comment time be increased from 2 minutes to at least 3, but Planning Commission gives us 5. Also, I would like to thank Chief Maciag for his responsiveness to our street speeding issue and for being very responsive in sending me the data once it's been compiled. I really appreciate that. And I also want to thank Barb for bringing this to everybody's attention and for being not letting it go. And I know it wasn't an easy thing to do, so I appreciate that. But I also feel like it is totally ridiculous for a body who has taken an oath to uphold a certain book of rules to claim ignorance. That's just beyond belief. So I want that to be noted. There's no excuse. There is no excuse at all. And as far as the application that got lost, he hand delivered another one, and that one got lost. So let's explain that.
Anybody else from council chambers? Jeffrey?
Sorry about that. I am troubled.
Oh, your name.
Every time I hear,
Name and address.
I'm sorry, I am troubled
Put it up a little bit more. I mean, put it closer to your mouth so they can hear you at home. Great.
I am troubled with the pride that the mayor takes with regard to how many times you voted unanimously. You know how many times I've heard that over the years? Okay, that shows signs that there's no dissent. I mean, I watch Plymouth, I watch, other ones, on TV. There's always somebody, that has a different viewpoint. It almost seems like it'd come in with a predisposed decision. I looked through a handful, quite a few city council meetings. I can tell you there had to be, I don't know how many I looked at, 10, 11 of them. Every vote from you was unanimous.
No,
Isn't that troubling?
not me.
Others?
He's already been up once. You go.
Hi, council. My name is Samantha Turnbull. My address is 453 Grace Street. I'm the wife of Jason Turnbull, who you guys have alluded to, who applied for the beautification. I guess he's on currently the beautification commission, applied for planning commission. And on behalf of both of us, just want to thank council for hearing public comment about this, but also for following the city's charter the best that you know how to do. It's an oversight. It's not something that happens on purpose. No one wants to be having this conversation today, especially a conversation about volunteerism. Right? No one's getting paid. No one's getting paid well to do any of this, right? And I know that if you've ever seen someone in a pink shirt on a rainy Saturday, because it's always raining, at Cabbagetown Park, like taking out weeds and raking, like that's my husband. He's not doing it for malice. He's just doing it to help, right? He's on that commission, by the way, because he applied. He applied and he was interviewed by Councilwoman Morosky Brown
And Mayor
Turnbull. And as a part of the subcommittees, you're all granted. That's why it's the two of you, right? And then he was appointed again by Councilwoman Morosky Brown and Mayor Turnbull, again, as an oversight. Just someone looking to help out, someone looking to volunteer. It's a generational thing in our family that people just want to do things to help, especially in the city. So I know he wants to be here tonight. He's at home taking care of our new baby. But again, just a thank you all for caring so much about this and for trying to do the action that you know is the right thing to do. On behalf of everybody here, we know you're doing your absolute best.
Thank you. Ed?
at Brazen 370 Fairbrook. Reiterate what Jeff was saying. You guys, anybody in any kind of business or any business dealings, nepotism is always frowned upon. Don't tell me you guys didn't know about it. And it's funny how you even approved Jason on the last agenda. So you guys, two of you,
All of council approved Jason on the beautification.
well, it
committee.
said
Is
you
that what-
did. But you're all
No,
complicit.
That's
I
not
mean,
true.
we got a lawyer sitting here. You guys have all been in politics for how long? And you let stuff like this slide. I'm tired of the cronyism. I'm tired of all the stuff that happens around here. You guys do this for a reason. You think this whole thing about doing this at the last minute, Mayor? We know what's going on in this town. You guys don't admit it, but we watch it. We see it. There's a lot of bad stuff going on in this town. And you're part of it. You're probably the biggest part of it because I heard you threaten people in this town if they didn't do what you wanted. And don't tell me because I can prove it. So don't tell me I never say anything or what happened with Jeff and the snow. Because that night that they did that, the garage across the street, snow wasn't plowed. And that's right in front of your faces. I'm telling you, this town has got to change. There's too much corruption in this town. From the downs, everything that goes on in this town. I'm sick of it. And I think it's high time we get somebody in here to figure out what's going on. That's it.
Thank you, Ed. Anybody else in council chambers? Okay, I'm closing off in council chambers. Oh, no. Mr. Burns.
Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Yes.
Billy Burns, 392 Fairbrook Court. So to begin, I did submit an application for planning commission and was not chosen. Qualifications aside, I'm not trying to be a sore loser. As you say, it's a volunteer role. It's a ton of work. It's kind of a thankless job. I will point out my interview consisted of the mayor talking about himself and my father-in-law a majority of the time. And the rest was basically setting me up for not being selected. I was told that Councilman Carter would listen to all the interviews and provide input in Europe at 3 p.m. Northville time on July 1st, probably 9 p.m. Europe time. And I got a rejection letter a couple hours later. That's a short period of time to review all the interviews from the various commissions from that day. Just some of the stuff I'm hearing, you can't really push some of these issues on a clerk. These are bigger than that. And you say you got it right. You're getting it right now, it seems like. If I'm interviewing my daughter for a role, just the appearance of that raises a lot of red flags to me. And I would be over the top trying to make sure that that was the right thing to do. I don't think the process played out properly. You were warned of it. Now you're called out on it. Councilwoman Morowski Brown brought up numerous other emails that weren't returned regarding the lost application. But I will say, I'm very happy to see members up here sticking up for the process, regardless of the topic or the candidate.
Billy. Anybody else in council chambers? Going once, going twice. Come up, Andrew. Nice and loud for them at home.
Andrew Daly, 333 East Katy Street. I just want to say, obviously, we've heard what everyone's had to say here tonight. We've all, well, most of us may have read the public comments, also written and submitted. And speaking of policies, processes, and procedures, it does seem that now is the time to look at continuing to follow those processes, policies, and procedures. And the next step would be obviously an investigation to see exactly what has happened, why it happened, and how to prevent it from happening again. So I ask all of you to take that into serious consideration with regards to your vote about the next step, which is an investigation. And if there's nothing that actually has happened here that is incriminating, then you have nothing to fear. So if you vote no for an investigation, that's an indication to me that you have something to fear. So no one should be voting no for an independent investigation tonight. Thank you.
Anybody else in council chambers? Going once, going twice. Okay, I'm closing that off. Anybody online?
Well, let's take a look. Not at this time, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, we will close that off. after this too, we're going to do a vote for BZA. That is the next, just so you know, don't leave it. Any comments from those in council before I ask for?
I gave my comments.
Okay.
And just one, as I mentioned, who are the qualified applicants, that this was certainly nothing against or about them. And I omitted Jason Turnbull's name. He's caught up in this. And, you know, as part of what I'm suggesting, independent, we can talk about what happened to an independent review with beautification and again with historic district. And I can relay my experience with that. And also my apology for believing what was told to me about something. And typically I don't do that, but this time I'm not perfect either. So I made a mistake. But I do want to say, you know, with, for Jason Turnbull, had conversations with him. He's a wonderful person, as his family is. And one thing he can do is volunteer. So even though he can't be in an appointed position, I hope that this doesn't dissuade him from the good things he's already done in our town, and he can continue to do that.
He's keeping that pink shirt.
Right, well, the pink shirt, and also
Sure. You know,
task forces are volunteer and they do not have that sort of overlay. They're not an appointed position. So anyway, with that said, that's all I wanted to just.
He wears pink proudly over here.
Yeah, and I can move forward with the motion right now. It's kind of long.
So if you want to do the motion, we'll see if we have to
Okay.
vote for that motion.
Okay. I move or ask that we place on the next agenda item for action the following. So first I'm going to ask, which would you prefer? Would you prefer that we move and discuss this in more detail at our next meeting, or just move for an independent? I'm prefer to move for an independent review now, so I'll put that forward.
Okay.
Specifically, I move for city council to do the following: that city council pursuant to Charter section 6.9 and 4.10 F, retain independent outside counsel, and I use that loosely. It doesn't have to be an attorney, to conduct an impartial review of the recent board and commission appointment matters. I would add that the purpose is to identify what went wrong, why, and learn from it to make improvements. The items that would be impartially reviewed would be the application or not application of Charter Section 5.13 for recommending specifically in this case, the Planning Commission appointment, but also in two other instances where we had to deal with this. That is now withdrawn, but had previously been released to the public. Next is the accuracy of the urgency asserted in the initial July 6th consent agenda communication from the mayor, now withdrawn but previously released to the public July 2nd. The omission of a timely planning commission applicant from consideration. I think George already addressed that. So if we want to, do we want to remove that item? It is a glitch in the system, acknowledged, so I can remove that. And that any other directly related matters that have occurred, I had this year because things really started heating up in January. But if we want to go back to the fall is when the Beautification Commission appointment initially occurred, we can do that. On matters involving board and commission appointments. Also, the legal guidance provided to council on these matters. And then the longstanding process council uses for the Board of Zoning Appeals and Planning Commission recommending appointments in all other boards and commissions. This council and many prior councils authorized biennially the board and commission selection committee members and the process of interviewing applicants and making recommendations to council. All committee communications to council are tailored to the legal appointment authority of each board and commission. None of that has been looked at yet. And further, pending that review, that the mayor recuse himself from participation in any matter concerning his own conduct, consistent with charter rules of organization of the council under section 6.7C.
And the only thing I would add to that, we have 4 council members here today. I would want all 5 to weigh in on that.
Well, that's why I
Have
said
the
you want.
discussion for the next time, because otherwise we could get a 2-2 vote. I don't think we want that today. I think you want 3-2 or 5-0. So that would be my suggestion. Yep.
Well, I don't know how,
We appreciate the input, but we're.
so I have a motion on the table. It's long, but it was enumerating the different types of items that would be looked at.
I would
in
open
impartial
to the
review.
others if you want the fifth council person.
I just think about Andrew wanting to be here for
Mhm.
this.
Mhm.
But we do have a quorum.
We have the ability to vote on it. Now, if we vote on it, doesn't pass, then it would not move forward, period. So that is the argument to have, Andrew included. So
And
don't
if we
disagree with
want to, one of the, I would prefer action tonight, but I'm completely sympathetic to Andrew's not being here, right? This is an important conversation. So one of the things I had offered right up, how should I move? Should I move that we, make a decision tonight on an impartial review, or do we want to, we can move to have consideration of this impartial review at our next July meeting?
So one advantage if we did move it is, so one question I have is, who is the individual that we're appointing to this role? And then are we allocating budget? Because if we are hiring an attorney, there's going to be cost associated with this. So do we have a time and budget approved? That should be part of the conversation. We need to be transparent of what the timing and budget is associated with this type of an action. So that would be one advantage
I
of,
don't have those answers.
if we do it in 2 weeks, we'd be able to come back with a structured vote on here's the role, the individual or the team that we plan to do it, the amount of money, and when we expect to have a response back as part of the.
So we could,
And
there
that,
could be a motion to defer, which would need a second, and then council could vote on the motion to defer to a date certain, which would put it back to the date of, what's our next meeting date? It's 2 weeks from tonight.
2 weeks from today.
the 20th?
20th.
Yeah, we've
20th. So you do a motion to defer this item to the business agenda on July 20th. And then if everyone agrees, it moves to that date and it goes the same listing back on the agenda.
And you have all the
Which
information. in the
We could hear from
package.
council and see if you want us to prepare additional information related to cost, staffing. I don't know what council's preference is on that item.
I do think that we owe the community though, and several people referenced it. We need a transparent process that everyone understands, that's structured, that's the same every cycle.
And
so that
the
there
only
is-
way out of this is through an outside source, figuring out what we can do better.
lessons
So it's
learned and
not-
how to improve so this doesn't happen again.
Yes,
Is that fair to say?
I'd be open. Yes.
So George, you had suggested, but I would need somebody either, I don't know if I can amend
So-
my own motion, so I want all those
It
things
hasn't
on the
been
record.
seconded yet, so you could
Right,
just say.
but I don't-
Make a motion to defer this item to the business agenda on
Right,
July
so,
20th, and then if
Right.
you get a second, it goes.
but I would like to include all the things I'm asking to move and be deferred.
Well, my view would be this exact, this exact item would go, right? I mean, if
Everything
we
you
motion
just
to
said.
defer this item, this would be the packet item.
You had one change to this though.
Well, because I think it was, the one was it was the third bullet, the omission of a timely planning commission applicant from consideration. It sounds like it was unfortunately a website glitch, right?
Wouldn't mind getting more details on that.
Keep it in.
Okay,
It
all right,
doesn't hurt to be
okay,
honest.
because there is more to the story.
That is actually
So-
one topic that probably I am most concerned about.
Okay.
Because if we do have people applying, going through the process, and then that's not coming through and we're not seeing
That
that,
will go in the process on the new system too.
it's a
So
gap that could have a significant.
Okay,
I would
since
keep it in.
again, lessons, what happened here? What went wrong? And what's the lesson learned moving
keep it
forward?
in.
So, is that
It's totally fair. I'm struggling with not just voting on that tonight. We're waiting for what? Andrew and a price from, we're gonna pay it.
Well,
right?
again, I don't know that council has ever executed this part of the charter. So,
So
and
what-
I don't, it uses the term council, but I don't know that it isn't an attorney, maybe that needs a municipal attorney that would need to lead it, but they can use people that specialize in municipal governance practices that I can assure you would have a lower billable rate than an attorney. Does that make?
Typically, you'd hire, council would appoint a special city attorney for this purpose. Typically would be what I've seen in the past when you've had a special review. So But it would be, you'd have to find a municipal expert. Who would you look for that qualification? Someone who's a city clerk, someone who's a city manager. So typically what you do is they hire a city attorney, a city attorney who's contracted from other organizations, and they come in if council goes that direction.
Yeah, and all I'm inferring is when that inquiry is made is that municipal attorney, whoever it may be, they can hire or work with a fact-finding person, so you're not paying $500 an hour for fact-finding, but it can be overseen. It can be what I mean is it can be overseen by an attorney, which would be consistent with charter, but fact-finding can be, that's a lot of detail, and they can report to them. Does that make sense? I don't want to blow the budget on this.
Right,
but
that's the only reason I
important.
raise it, and I know this isn't about the dollars, it's about transparency, but I also don't want, we received this, well, now 2 hours ago. And what I wouldn't want to do is open-ended commit to something that costs 6 figures in funds.
Oh, absolutely.
I want to make sure we have a clear understanding of what are we going after? What's the rule? How we're going to execute it? And then we vote to approve that process.
And we should have all that data in 2 weeks.
Yeah, so I think there could be.
Opened up at the beginning.
Yeah, so.
It would be part of
Tony,
that.
for something like this, what are we looking at?
Well, I mean, the process that you've laid out is very common, that the individual, you typically would have the head person as an attorney. They'll hire anybody that needs to review the IT prospect or anything that might come up as you go through the review. The numbers could be so far off, I couldn't really give anything with certainty.
Okay. But we could get estimates very quickly.
We're
for the next
definitely going to
meeting.
hold you to whatever number you say.
Yeah.
We do. Indeed. Okay.
So we move, help me, we move
To
well, I want to make sure Laura's comfortable. Laura's not comfortable yet. I think it would be prudent to move it, Laura, but that's my.
Well, I mean, you did a lot of work, and if.
Well, the work's not going away. It's still happening in
So
a couple
move
weeks.
To,
All right.
if that's the case,
I have a good memory.
Okay.
money for the full council, and we have data to support our decision.
Well, for less.
Whatever.
Yeah. So I guess I adjust the rest of it stands, but I adjust the early part of what I read to be, I move that we defer consideration of retaining independent outside counsel to conduct an impartial review to date certain, the July 20th, 2026 meeting. Does that work? So it's, the rest of it can stand and you can actually use the language in here?
And part of it is for George to get quotes.
Oh,
so that you have an
and
idea.
yes, and that would be, yes, and do I need to say, and to get it cost? Well, I would say
Quotes and data.
quotes might be too firm. I mean, until we have the discussion, it would be cost estimates of how that would work, right? Because we don't know.
I'd say cost estimates and process definition. So we understand like how is it going to work, additional details there.
I accept that friendly amendment. Is it friendly? I think so. The other item that when the clerk is looking over my bulleted points, that if you go to the written document that I have in that latter part, is that I said any other directly related matters that occurred this year, because there was a lot that happened beginning in January, but I would take that back that would be fall or any time frame, but certainly fall, because that was the Beautification Commission, right?
As a point of clarification, Jason Turnbull was appointed in June, so.
Was it June? It wasn't okay. So for June, so I guess we would just include in the prior year. Through last year. Okay, it was June. We had a lot. Thank you.
So we have a motion. Do we have support for that motion on the table?
Is recusal still on the table?
Support.
Okay, so we have a motion, yes. And recuse, everything she said in the whole package is in there, yes.
No.
So we have a motion. Supported. Any other discussion? Go right ahead.
I'm just, this was to do the motion now, you're not.
Defer.
This is deferral still, okay.
And it still includes all the language of
All
the
the language
topic
in-
that,
in the document.
Yeah, and if anybody has any other ideas they'd like to add to that, I'm fine, but that was just a bulleted list, so.
Motion, it was supported. Any other discussion on this motion? Let's do a roll call vote on that.
Morosky Brown,
Yes.
Janetti,
Yes.
Carter,
Yes.
Turnbull.
Yes. So we will go forward. You're going to pull information. We will have it at the 20th meeting. We'll have Andrew there. We will go from there. We have the next one that will be a motion to go forward with appointments of two people for BZA. We put it on the agenda here. It was on the consent agenda for support. It is on this. Any discussion on this before I ask for the motion for these two? We've talked about it.
For the motion for.
To appoint the two BZA members.
No, I would just ask, how do we want to
Dan.
handle that? I don't want, I mean, it's really not, that cannot stand. There's certain things that are in that mayoral communication that are incorrect. What do we do about that? Because we're not, that was brought forward, but that should not stand as it is. But we are fine
We are just
within our
voting
legal
for
authority,
them.
and we're accepting that for this
Accepting them
instance,
going on the
we're
job. Continue.
deviating from the normal board and commission process. We have the authority to do that. But I do not, I'm very, very uncomfortable having on the record the things that are in that letter that are not accurate.
They can be stricken.
I was gonna say, I'll confirm with Tony here, but I believe if you make a recommendation and then since it is from the mayor, if the mayor were to accept it, then we can probably modify accordingly, correct?
It's council. I mean, this one is just the mayor's recommendation. The council votes for this
I
one.
think she's looking to change the background and analysis.
Yeah, I'm
Okay,
just,
that-
yeah,
that's the
so I have to,
We
where
could change
were
that.
we?
Yes.
Yeah,
So the memorandum does reference the, in accordance with the MZEA at section 125.3601, BZA members are appointed by a majority vote of council. But I think you want to make a separate motion not to adopt this, like as a resolution would be adopted.
correct, because there are two, well, and I can't pull it up right now. Isn't it horrible? I had it right in front of me and now the hot link is not working.
Yeah.
Do you have it? Okay, the hot link's not working and I don't know why. So, it is true that the city publicly advertised vacancies and accepted applications, but received no applications from new candidates. That is accurate. We had,
That is a fact.
we were very blessed to have two people that sit on BZA want to be reappointed
continue.
because that's a tough committee. Then when we get down in the other, it does actually say appointed, as city attorney said, it is appropriate that we can make that appointment as a council. But then there is the next sentence that is, while a board and commission selection committee exists and typically conducts candidate interviews, use of the committee to review appointment is not required under state statute or local ordinance. That's a red herring.
We can
It
get rid of
is
that.
accepted, yes, so that's gone. It is, it has been generally accepted by council for, my last finding is at least 20 years of reaffirming in our organizational, us and those we come, you know, the shoulders we stand on of many before us, have every 2 years affirmed a 2-member committee and appointed people. So that cannot be part of, it has to be part of the record that that is not an accurate statement. And the other is that there is no council adopted policy to that effect. That needs to be researched and looked into because the absence of something is not nothing. You have to look for it. Is that, fair? So that whole part, and then the last sentence is, as the city's chief elected official, the mayor conducted the interviews. If the mayor had come to council and asked for that, that would have been okay. Because that would just be either a one-time or a permanent change in the process, which really for BZA wouldn't have been appropriate. But he didn't. So he acted outside of his authority as mayor. So that whole, I guess it would be everything after the first sentence just must be on the record as on its face inaccurate. So I say this having now looked at 2005 to 2008 minutes, people need the minutes don't reflect it. This packet is what would be looked back on. So this packet, if we don't somehow recognize this is inaccurate, somebody could read this 20 years prior and say, oh, well, look what was written, must be true. Do you see what I'm saying? And so it becomes a permanent record. Because we have been told before that if we withdraw something during this meeting, it still remains as a reference in the permanent packet. Is that correct? We can't, what would be the term?
Tracked it.
Well, I don't think we can't remove it from the packet. I'd love to
Yes.
remove it from the packet. That's what we should do.
It's in our
So it's
package right
never
now.
part of the permanent record. So thank you for sharing that. So that's the part, it's those two statements asserting mayoral authority where there is none, but preceding that about there being no authority. Certainly the authority has not been found, but I do have testimonial evidence from people that where they're saying, well, yeah, it occurred, and still looking through the minutes, right? Trying to find it. Does that make sense? Is any of this
And that's
following
what
this?
Yeah, and that's what we've discussed, is there have been staff members as well that have been going back through the minutes. To date, that a resolution creating the selection committee or establishing its particular authorities has not been found. And so-
Or a motion in that regard,
motion in that
however,
regard.
right. And what I have confidence, it's another Where's Waldo. But during that whole period, we were blessed to have a mayor who is also a very well-regarded municipal attorney. And to think that
Around, he'll have it.
he, brought prior councils together to create a process that was inconceivable with this, just doesn't, you know what I mean? That there wasn't.
So, and
properly.
that's where I think if we do
Yeah.
not find the document and it, that provides that, then we should look at creating something to codify exactly the
Yeah.
role of the
Yeah,
committee.
and I will say for the three members that conveyed that this occurred during that time frame, they were sure there was a motion, but they couldn't remember if a resolution accompanied it. You know what I mean? But we know we're looking for a motion. But I know in 2005, I've already missing several minutes. Yeah, it's old stuff. Yeah, so we have several, but what I had conveyed and I mentioned to others is that I'm not going to send Michelle Massel or the clerk saying, oh, well, we're missing these minutes, right? Is that when I've gone through them all, then I'll say, okay, here's ones I can't find. But as of now, I still have many more years to go through, so.
Are we able to just remove that paragraph that begins in accordance in the council
I
communication?
think so, because I think that's the one, yeah. Well, the in accordance is appropriate, but the problem is, this is two city council members, because the mayor can't recommend this. We're taking this action independently.
Right. I mean, you could keep the first sentence.
Yeah. The other challenge, what do we do with this, is, at least since I have been on here, and even I know well before, is that when there was an appointment recommendation, right, it always had the applications attached. It would say attachment, Steve Calkins attachment, because that is the verification that they meet at least the minimum qualifications. Is that fair, clerk? We always do it, and they're not here, so that's another complication.
That should be
Is
in the
the-
package.
Given and we could request that gets added to the package. I mean, they're currently on, so I don't have that concern of do they meet the minimum qualifications?
Well, because it's fine.
One's the vice
Yeah.
chair today and the other one's a current member.
Well, because there are issues in there, they're reaffirming that they have no financial obligation that's in, so there's, the clerk knows, there's the whole little checklist that follows that. So I mean, I think it would be great if we could add it to the packet. I haven't seen the
Yeah, they're
applications, but I'm assuming did they use
Should have
ones
the
that were already on file?
That's correct.
Which they're allowed to do. So the clerk has those and could add it as a part of the packet under this new agenda item. But it's not coming from the mayor. This is us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that the motion?
No, the motion, well, I don't know how do I even handle striking stuff
Okay,
that's
tell me.
inaccurate? I don't even know.
So I think we have three things we want to do. So I think it's a motion to reappoint Stephen Calkins and Daniel Steedham to the BZA. The second piece is to strike the third paragraph beyond the first sentence. And then what was the third piece?
Well, the third is that this is.
Add the resumes to the packet.
Well, the applications, correct. So, oh my gosh, so moved.
So moved.
No, but there's the latter is that this is not a communication from the mayor. This is our taking this action independently. Right? So.
Have this in.
Yeah. So the first three things that Tony just said.
Yep.
And then we would move for the reappointment of these two individuals to Board of Zoning Appeals.
By motion of the council.
By motion of the council. And then the other items that Tony just mentioned on the record. And the addition, what was the last thing I mentioned that we needed to add? Oh my God, now forgot. So.
It's just the applications.
Right.
Was it just the
Applications,
applications? Okay. Because we're asserting that this is a mayoral, right, appointment. It's not based on recommendations from the mayor. So
Do you have that?
does that make, is that clear as mud to everybody?
Are you clear on that, Tony?
Yep. That makes
Kelly,
sense.
you have that? And go back on the tape. Okay, so we have a motion that you heard, that you rewrote. Do we have support for that motion?
Support.
Okay,
For clarification, you could say the term expires July 1st, 29.
right.
Can I make a friendly amendment from the floor?
Friendly amendment,
That is absolutely correct. And it's, the expiration is July 1st. Correct.
2029. Okay,
Thank you, Justin.
so good. We have the motion, we have the timing, we have the restrictions on it. We have support for that motion. Yep. I think we can do this. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Good.
And I thank both
We have
of them for, again, offering to serve on that. That is it's a lot of work and a challenge being on that.
It's a great opportunity. That
Yeah.
is a very tough one on
It is.
BZA. It goes from there to the legal, so they have to be equal but different and all. We are winding down. If you haven't been here before, this is just communications, anything from the mayor and council. Again, great weekend. I saw a lot of you down there. We had over 10,000 people that they say in our parade and at Mill Race Village. It was a great weekend to be in town. A lot of people, I don't know where everybody went that's in the new River Park. They are there every night. There's hundreds and hundreds of folks, and down at Ford Field. It was a great time to be in Northville. I mean, Saturday was outstanding from north to south. So appreciate each and every one of you do. 27 boards and committees. They do all the work in town. We're trying to knock down a hurdle once in a while. So thank you so much for being on that and sharing your time and talents. That's all I have. John, anything from your standpoint?
Yeah, I mean, I'll reference between the Riverwalk, the updates that are taking place at Ford Field, the improvements on Main Street. There's a lot of really exciting stuff that's going on in this town now. And I know this was not an easy meeting, I don't think, for anyone involved, but, and I'm sure there's frustration across the board. But I think we do need to pause every once in a while and recognize we got a lot to be excited about, a lot to be proud of, and some really exciting stuff coming in the future. The other thing I wanted to highlight was on July 3rd in the evening, we were driving down Main and we couldn't continue, or down Dunlap, I should say, because there was a tree across the street. And I want to just give a thank you to Mike Dominy and DPW because there was a lot of cleanup. A lot of restoration. I also saw several residents that were literally going around picking up chairs and putting them back because they'd blown all over the street. So I know so many of us were able to enjoy the Officer of the Year Awards that morning, the parade. Honestly, I can't think of a better way to celebrate the 250th anniversary of our country. But I will always kind of think back to the individuals who were helping clean it up and get us ready because it takes a lot of work to get to that point. So it was a great day and a lot to celebrate and appreciate all the effort that went into it.
Absolutely. Barbara, anything?
Well, I just want to say thanks for everyone for bearing with me tonight. It was not easy for me to move forward with what I needed to have discussions with council and ask for tonight, and not something I ever expected in my 6.5 years here. But it needed to be done. We needed to have that transparency, and moving forward to have a process that works well. It's never been perfect, but it has worked very well for a long time. And we just need to keep that in mind as we just reaffirm and work through this. So thank you very much, and apologize to the community, but it is what it is. So thank you very much. And thank you for, there was a lot of written comments. I don't know why we get less online comments now, but we do. There's definitely a downward trend. So it's a fair observation to say, is the process more difficult to navigate for people, at the end?
Hopefully that'll be easier. You're
Yeah,
going to tell me
so-
on the new website. Can you
Yeah.
download it really quick? Is it there? Can you touch?
Well, no,
the
I'm
button
talking
and
about
stuff
people
too?
calling in.
Calling in.
Maybe it's
Oh.
like, I
Bring us all the
don't
documents.
know. Yeah, so if it is cumbersome, before, it was much easier for people to navigate, but of course, we had bad stuff happen, right? So we need those safeguards, but is there a way to make it easier for people to be sitting in their kitchens or their living rooms and doing other stuff and just calling in when they want to?
There are less entries for the person that wants to call in. There's less numbers. They just pick up their phone, they punch in the numbers.
And I don't think it's a failure to communicate. It's just something on the other end is not working. You know what I mean? It's difficult. People are perceiving it as difficult.
Right, there is a delay. There's a 20-second delay. And by the
Oh.
way, there are 114 viewers this evening.
Great.
114.
Great. Excellent.
Well, we wouldn't have had seating for
Right,
them.
that's
So
true.
thank you for attending remotely.
Good. Anything else, Lauren?
No, I think we're good.
George, I always forget.
Nope, I'm great. Thank you.
Good. Looking for a motion for adjournment. Do we have that motion?
So moved.
Seconded. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, say nay. Thank you.